back to the Tailosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We are joined by Randy and Nick. The correct way of introducing them, I suppose.
Twitter has decided. No! Twitter decided the opposite.
That's right. No take backs. No take backs.
Twitter said Nick and Randy was better than Randy and Nick.
Twitter doesn't know what they want.
It's too early for this voice. It's too early.
We're
filming at 1 p.m. and it's too early.
It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon for this.
How are you guys?
I am tired. And
I've been talking to you both for the past hour, but I want to know how you're doing.
So now
on the record,
how are you?
I'm getting a little concerned for the Cybertruck.
That's my line.
Check.
You guys are stealing everything from me. I'm going to start issuing copyright strikes or something because
we've got the EV podcast checklist of things we have to mention.
Yeah.
We got that done.
Elon, you are amazing.
Stock price is high.
Mm-hmm. Stock price is high. Done. I'm getting really concerned about the Cybertruck. Done.
We got that. Double check.
Tesla is
but
doomed.
We haven't
Done.
But we haven't yet talked about Aptera, and I think that's the most important EV startup of our generation.
Because we're the Aptera sheep now.
We are seeing how they are literally.
I will
us.
say, no, they have not paid me a dime. I don't want a dime from them.
They have not paid you a dime yet.
But they have paid you a dime and a nickel.
I will give them credit to something that a lot of EV companies don't do. They issued a blog post yesterday, at the time of recording this, of how many pre-orders they got.
Ooh.
Like, nobody does that anymore. You notice that?
I do. You're right.
Everyone's like, oh, no. We got so many.
Number.
It's going to take a while.
Big.
Someone like Nicola is like, how many reservations for the Badger did you get? 4?
Bless you. It looks like
4. T-thousand.
We won't. That's what's hilarious here. Aptera is not public. They're a private company, and they're disclosing how many pre-orders they got. And Nikola, a publicly traded company, is not disclosing how many pre-orders they got.
Well, because Nikola didn't have any pre-orders to disclose.
Do you think it was literally 0?
Literally 0.
They were just, the site went live and 0 orders came in. No, at least Jerry Rig Everything and Shaq must have reserved one because they made sponsored Instagram posts about Nikola, which I believe I screenshotted because I was like, I know this is going to age horribly. I know it. So I was just like, I'm going to remember that these guys
sold out.
Were getting paid by Nikola, a company that hasn't built anything but is paying for advertising. Meanwhile, Tesla built everything, no paid advertising. It's so interesting, the contrasts. Mainly with Nikola, but...
Every time you say Nikola, I'm slightly offended because my name is in that, and I'm
It's easy to meme on them. I should move away from that. But what were you guys in favor of the capital raise, or were there any objections to that?
Dude, that was such a baller move. It was like, whoa, a second capital raise in a year? In 2020,
the fact that
nonetheless.
They can third, I think.
Third? This year?
Wasn't there a $2 billion capital raise at the very beginning of 2020? I can't remember.
I can't keep my.
Yeah, I think it was in like February.
Was that in February? It was right before the pandemic, wasn't it? It was right before the pandemic.
Yep.
And then they did a $5 billion in September.
Wow, that was a lot of.
And now another $5 billion. The fact that they can get $5 billion with less than 1% dilution is that's just incredible. I love that they can do that. It solidifies their. Elon talked about it on an interview. He said that it was mainly just to secure the company future a little bit better by paying off some of the debts they had. So it was just a little, why not?
That's
$5
awesome.
billion.
That's awesome.
No big deal. Yeah. I'm very happy about that.
And it just kind of a one last shove it to the Nikola people.
How long do you think Elon's going to stick around?
Ooh.
I would guess a decade.
Past now?
Yeah, 2030 is when he'll probably think about, do I really need to be here anymore?
I think it'll
That's
be
my guess.
a few years after he makes the trip to Mars. He'll be before he makes the trip to Mars. Yeah, like 2030, I think.
I think Elon is obsessed and attracted to difficult problems and wanting to solve issues that no one else is going after. Like he said how he'd been telling people for years to build tunnels so that we could solve traffic and go three-dimensional with transport, but no one was doing it, so he decided to do it himself. So he likes going after problems that not a lot of people are addressing. So once Tesla is mass-producing batteries and mass-producing electric vehicles, and the S-curve of EV adoption is kind of taken its most exponential point and is now tapering off, and we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, we've got the batteries, we got the supply chains. Now it's just a matter of diversifying the lineup and ironing out robo-taxis and ironing out software, and we're just putting an app store on the Tesla, and it's not a problem of range anymore, and EVs have completely dominated the new vehicle market. Then I feel like he'll be like, well, I don't really need to be here anymore. I think we can hire pretty much anybody to just design an RV, design a full-size SUV, design this, design. He doesn't really need to be there for that aspect. He needs to be there for the scaling of production and the battery problem, and they're facing a lot of issues that no auto company has ever faced before between scaling production of batteries that much and that kind of thing. So that's when I would guess is when Tesla would be pretty secure and pretty safe to the point that Elon doesn't need to spend much time there. What about you, Randy? What's your guess?
I actually, I think a little bit longer than 10 years. 10 years sounds realistic, but I feel like my observations with Tesla and Elon feel the same as my observations.
I'm looking up his age.
He is 49. He was born in 71.
In human Earth years, but as a Martian, oh, he's just getting started. He wants to go to Mars. He's just trying to go back home. That's it.
Yeah.
I think.
So he'll be 59.
Yep, and I think that's almost a perfect retirement age for him. Like,
no way. He's got everything he needs right now. Those guys don't stop working. He's not. You can see it. He's Steve Jobs. He will never stop working.
I mean, retire from Earth, Randy, is what I meant. Retire
from Earth.
Yeah.
Go start solving problems on Mars.
I think he might take. He might not do the day-to-day stuff with Tesla, but I think he's still going to be engaged with Tesla, and not as like a visionary. I mean, as in like, grander, like securing certain deals, like moving more factories, getting them. I mean, who's going to put the first gig on Mars? Elon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Elon will be doing that. Yep.
I feel like he'll stick around. At least 15 years, but 10. Honestly,
35. Okay.
I think 2030 seems pretty locked in, but for just knowing him mindset, like, you know, as a founder, you don't really. He's not trying to sell the company, so I can see him wanting to stay with it till he dies in some capacity. These guys like workaholics. He won't retire. He's got everything he needs right now. He is retired in a way. He's just doing what he loves. He doesn't. These guys don't see it as work. Yeah. They see it as like, oh, I'm trying to, you know, do something bigger than myself. So I could see.
He's definitely not in it for the money. That's for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, no, he's. You know what it is? I think it's because he's still young in the mind that he. I feel like he still has a lot to contribute with Tesla specifically for over a decade to come, because we're just getting started with electric vehicles in this way. The parallels between Tesla and Apple are it's uncanny, and I think we are just barely at the tipping point of this big old iceberg. We haven't even got to the main stuff underneath yet, so I think he'll be around for a very long time.
Yeah, and I also kind of think he's starting to shift his focus a little bit away from Tesla. I mean, obviously he's still fairly involved in the design process, but if you just look at the iteration and speed that the Starship has taken upon itself, like Elon only has so much focus to give. 2018, almost 100% of his focus was with Model 3 ramp. You know, that was production ramp, was production hell. It's 100% of his focus. I think right now it's focused more on the Starship, because I think he's realizing he's getting a little older, you know, in his 50s. And I think...
And Neuralink.
That's true.
Neuralink.
Yeah, actually,
to buy himself more time.
That's very true. But I think he's kind of realizing that he was... I'm sure when he was younger, he was thinking he'd already be on Mars when he turned 50. You know, in his Elon time. And I wonder if now he's kind of like, oh boy, I better get on this.
Right.
Well, if anybody can make it happen, he can make it happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My guess is I don't mean to speak for him, but if we were to ask Elon what company he likes working for the most at, my guess it would be SpaceX.
No.
Because
that's not how he would answer the question. He'd go,
I think there's things about both. The main problem you want to solve. Yeah, you can see him reading the text in his Neuralink sometimes. His eyes are darting across when he's talking. You can see it. Just pay attention to Elon's eyes next time you watch him in an interview. You can see him reading.
You can see the robot processors happening.
Yeah. I know Elon doesn't like having a publicly traded company, and he's probably really annoyed with that aspect of Tesla and the fact that he has to deal with so many different, countries' regulations and quality control complaints and people. I want this feature on my Tesla. Can you do this? Whereas SpaceX, I feel like he gets to kind of just have more control over what's going on. And, when SN9 tips over in a hangar, he can just, let's go take a look at that. It's not like he gets a million people. My car's not working right. It's not the same thing. And they don't have to report their earnings and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I think that he's always been interested in outer space, and SpaceX is about achieving that. And whereas Tesla is like fun cars, but also transitioning to sustainable energy. But a lot of the time he talks about how in the future, no one's going to be driving and the cars are just going to be a means of transport. And I don't know what he really likes. I'm sure he loves both of them a lot. But my guess would be that, like you said, in his older years, he wants to make sure that SpaceX is really solid so he can retire on Mars if possible and that kind of thing. And he doesn't want to die before. Mars. Yeah.
That's his only dream, man. He's going to
doesn't
want to die on Earth.
Walking on the planet, farming Mars with the Martian red soil, barefoot.
How do you think that's going to work with his family? Like, he doesn't want to die on Earth. That's weird to me. Do you say goodbye? Because I don't think they're coming.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I doubt he wants to bring all of
the next 10 years,
all of his kids' moms. So
do you think
he would be asking to take all the kids away from their moms, I guess.
Do you think when he goes to Mars the first time, that it is the first time he'll come back within the on that first trip? Come back.
He said he doesn't plan on coming back once he leaves.
I think he'll come back. I think he's going to go out there and scope the area.
I think he'll be too old, to be honest with you. By the time that they're willing to do that type of commercial mission to Mars, he'll be. I don't think that'll be ready by 2030.
I think Elon's going to be on the first transport to Mars. Especially when he gets into his 60s, he's just going to be like, "All right."
I would love to see the stock price, knowing the CEO is on a literal rocket ship headed towards Mars. He's like, can't do the earnings calls now.
As the stock starts shooting up, so does the rocket as it's launching.
Yeah.
And the stock explodes when the rocket does.
Are you guys surprised that they haven't released any cheaper Model Ys yet?
Operative word being yet? I don't think so. Because Elon time, like everything is going to be longer than... You believe me now, Drew? Things are going to be longer than they say.
Well, you wouldn't be right with the Model Y because that came out like 7 months earlier.
We're not talking about what I'm wrong about. We're talking about what I'm right about.
You were right about all the things you were right about. That's
right.
True.
That's right. So, thank you. Finally, someone who gets it.
You have a 100% track record, Randy.
I think
100%.
If we ignore the incorrect.
Look, 100% of the time that I'm right about these things, I'm right about those things. So don't worry about it. It's like I have a monopoly on being right. Because monopoly means that.
Interesting. But well, how about we ask then, will Tesla exceed 500,000 vehicle deliveries this year?
Ooh. I did not read that entire thread that you tweeted out. So
Mr. Righty Pants.
I need to research it first.
Okay. So no comment is the answer.
As of right now, by the time we post this, I'll have a comment, but Nick will forget to put it in post. So mention it to me. Mention it to me on Twitter.
Wow.
And I
not only is Randy having a 100% track record over here, he's just totally glossing over the fact that this is a lot of work.
I just thought that when
every
Elon
time I tell Nick to
put
something in post, I go take a look. He didn't do it.
I do that out of spite. I look at it in the timeline and I'm like,
I
could
could add.
We'll fix it in post. Nope,
But
he
no.
he didn't put it in post. He didn't care.
He just wants you to know he fully well could have, but he chose not to.
I like literally have
I
whatever
just think-
image you want me to find, and I'm like I'm dragging it over the timeline. I'm like, nah.
When Elon said they would do a single motor Model Y in a few months, when he said that in like May, I thought that would mean later in 2020. I
Like
didn't think that would mean
September,
next
October.
We still have 3 months left of 2020 at this rate, Drew. Come on, time is expanding. It's never gonna end.
year. Nick, a broken clock is right 2 times a day,
Hey,
and this
that's
is not
me.
one of those times.
Oh, bummer.
It's not broken if you have an Apple Watch.
That's just dead, always off display.
Always.
So did either of you get that Tesla tequila?
I didn't.
Mike did.
Mike did?
I can't believe we didn't talk about that when we had him on, but yeah, he did order it.
I didn't.
I
Does it
think he
come?
said. I think it did. I think he said that he's going to save it for Cybertruck delivery day, and then he'll pour some shots.
If I see
That'll
him,
be the only tequila I try.
if I see him this month, I'm gonna make an exception.
Ooh, I'd like to see you try.
We're gonna celebrate the unity of a Model 3, a Model Y, and our love for Cybertruck and all things Tesla, and we will
Mike,
toast.
You got to hide the bottle. Just preemptively hide
It's
the
a-
bottle.
Don't worry,
you know.
Mike. Don't worry, Mike. I already know where it's at.
We all know he's the one listener.
Yes.
100% of our audience. We decided to have everyone on who watches this show to come on.
Yep.
You get an appearance. You get an appearance. You all get appearances. Apple.
Well, now I'm thinking Tesla is just willingly not releasing cheaper Model Ys so that the ID4 can have a little place in the market. I know that Elon's pretty tight with the VW guys.
Oh yeah. Interesting. I could see
Why
that.
would he
He
do
got
that?
to drive it around.
When I
that's
saw
competition.
ID4, somehow my brain read that as IDK. And I was like, that's a stupid name for a car.
That's legitimate dementia.
Thank you. I should run for president.
IDK. How does I'm going to get 2 letters on screen here, and you tell me. So when you see the term 4K, does that just look like 2 letters to you?
It looks like KK. There's just 2, though, so we're good.
Yeah, as long as there's just 2, it's fine. But I think the ID4 is not that bad. I think when it comes to Tesla competition, that's pretty solid for what it is.
Okay, I just Googled it, and ID4 is a protein coding gene, not a car, folks.
What was I thinking? Dang it, VW, trolling me again. I bet they're losing money on it though. They have to be with the battery pack that big.
How many kilowatts is it?
82 total, 77 usable. So
Only
there's like a
200
software,
Only 250 miles?
but it's 40 grand.
Ay, ay, ay.
So it's 10 grand cheaper than the Model Y,
Ay, ay, ay.
and just $1,000 more than the Model, $2,000 more than the standard range Model 3. So, given it's a crossover, that's a popular segment.
Really?
I don't know. I think they got something there.
Does it drive itself? No.
Well, if you want the Model Y to drive itself, then it's 20 grand more expensive than
Oh, well,
the
that is also true.
So there's a big price gap there.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a question of worth. I think it's pretty obvious to say the Model Y is better if you can afford it, but some people just don't have the extra 10 grand, and if they're in the market for an electric crossover, then yeah, that sits pretty much exactly where the standard range Model Y was going to go. And it's kind of surprising because Elon said they wouldn't do the standard range Y because they couldn't hit 250 miles of range. But here's the ID4 coming in at that price point with that range. Would that convince Tesla to actually go forward with it?
That's a good question because I feel like as a competitor, Tesla would want that space.
They would want to know they have the more affordable electric crossover, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Elon being good with, tight with the VW people is a good enough not incentive, but just I don't know if that's good enough to just be like, you can have this market. Because I think that mentality in general will stifle competition.
True.
Both of you guys put them out, and let's work on improving the overall economic growth of it from there. I think just the fact that they're able to do that, and it's not Tesla, shows that with competition now comes options, and it makes everyone think on their toes. Yeah, I think we still will see that from Tesla. Why we haven't seen it yet, I don't know, but it wouldn't make sense to just leave money on the table, so to say, like that. It feels unbusinesslike. If anything else, I don't feel like as a public traded company like you were talking about earlier and having an answer to shareholders, I don't think shareholders would be happy or okay with that.
So Randy, when are you starting your tech? Given that logic, when are you starting your tech channel to compete with Talos of Tech?
Tomorrow.
I'm not interested in that realm, in that space.
But given this logic, Tesla is always interested in the cheaper market.
My involvement with
Right.
it is instead of competing.
You just countered yourself. Randy's not interested. Tesla is.
There you go. I'm not interested. The thing is, my involvement in it, Nick, is I did not compete. I collabed. We've made the podcast. This is where I can get my tech out. So I'm more of a unity. I am of a unity type. I don't want to compete in that space because individually, I don't think I have anything of value to bring to the table, and it's because of my lack of interest in it. I rather watch Drew do the futuristic, predictions and stuff like that. I find more value and more entertainment out of it than I would. Instead of competing,
I think you need to get some self-worth, Randy. You're worth
more. I'm just not interested. It's the same reason. Why is Drew not making music? He's just not interested. That's just not the
thing. The reason why Drew doesn't make music is because he doesn't know how. Just like
I do.
I disagree.
I just don't want to.
You can.
I have made music for the record.
Well, I've made music in GarageBand too.
This is way off topic. My point being that I think Randy's touching on something interesting there about we stifle the main purpose of competition if we just have the live and let live mentality of competitors. Obviously it's nice for Tesla to be like, let VW have their fun, but at the same time, like, isn't your goal to make more affordable electric vehicles? So if someone else is coming out with more affordable versions that are still decent, not as good, but decent, if Model Y started at 40,000, there would be no question. I think it would be less interesting, but it doesn't. And the fact that they are this late in the quarter and they still haven't launched the single motor makes me think that it must be not too soon. Maybe they're waiting for Q1.
Why release the single motor when the dual motors are selling just fine?
Maybe that's why. It's a good theory. There was a memo going around this morning or a couple days ago, I think, that Elon said they're severely production constrained in the fourth quarter with overwhelming demand. So perhaps they can't keep up with the dual motor orders, so that's why they're not launching single motor, because they can't build them fast enough. Good problem to have. Yeah. But I think that's the best theory going out right now. If demand keeps up this high for the $50,000 Model Y, then why lower the price if we're not going to be able to make more of them anyway?
Yeah, if you have to wait in queue anyway, then you finish the orders that are there and get to it when you can. I think that makes sense. You would think with two factories that are going to be constructed just solely for Model Y that you would fix this problem. You think Model Y would be the best-selling model?
Long term? Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, long term, yeah.
Now with they're going to start out with 4 factories all producing the same car. That's crazy.
And they're still supply constrained?
Yeah, Randy, are you talking globally?
Sure.
Because the Model Y perfectly fits almost all demographics pretty comfortably, whereas Cybertruck is going to crush sales in U.S., I think, pretty well. But they're not going to make Cybertruck in Europe for a while, and probably not in China for a while. But Model Y, they're building in America, Europe, and China, and they're expecting it to sell great in all demographics. So by far, yeah, I think that's going to be the best-selling one. Probably outsell the 3, but they'll be pretty close. Even for 2020, I was looking at some numbers, and Model 3 is still really up there in sales, despite Model Y being available now. Model Y is, I think, like 4th or 5th place in top EV sales, and Model 3 is still by a long shot number 1. So
I have a theory about that. My theory is
3 is cheaper.
No, 3 is
and
better
has
looking.
a Chinese factory.
It's better looking.
That's pretty subjective.
I know, but when I've asked, when I am asking people, especially because I'm seeing Model Ys everywhere here, people say they go like, "Oh no, this is a cool." Like with the Model Y, about the Model Y, like, no, this is a cool like hatchback crossover type of style. But when you want to, if you're looking for aesthetics, everyone, when I've asked, no one said aesthetically the Y was their preferred one. They like the Y for what it is. I'm not saying that you guys said it, but I'm telling you what.
It's a little anecdotal, though, is all I mean.
I can only use I can only pull from the I can only pull from the survey that I have here. I'm at the charging stations and I see 3s and Ys and some S's, and we're talking. We're all just sitting there kind of shooting. Sorry, cut that out.
Whoa.
Cut that out.
I will have to make note of that.
Ha ha! Now you have to add this stuff in post. 27 minutes.
Is that expression?
27 minutes. All right.
Chitting
But I know, whatever.
Poop.
Yeah, the poop. But people say aesthetically that they like it better. And then I ask the questions like, give me the best design. They want the front of the Model S, of the new Model S, to be incorporated to the other ones because they like how the emblem of the T just sits right there. At least with the Tesla owners, they like how that T just pops right there.
The other data I need to see is, are the Model 3 owners saying the 3 looks better, or are the Y owners saying the 3 looks better?
Actually, I'm talking to people who have X's and S's.
Oh, so it's even they're coming from a higher place then.
Yeah,
that means they're not getting either. So they can just the cheapest one then.
No, I feel like at that point, once you have an S or an X,
it's an interesting. I'm going to run a Twitter poll right now just because I'm curious about this.
I'm going to go to a charging station, pull out my phone, and ask people, "Hey, do you mind being on camera?" And I want to do a survey.
You do that, and if you can get more than the votes I get in the poll, we'll consider it factual.
No, it's impossible.
Exactly. That's why.
But the thing is, your people, they're out of all that. Not all.
They're all Tesla fans.
They're not owners. I'm asking from.
Why does it matter? You weren't saying owners prefer.
Because
no, I'm saying why does it matter if we're not arguing? Do the owners think the 3 or Y is better looking? You just said the 3 is better looking objectively.
But it's
I didn't say
the owners'
objectively.
opinions which matter.
Well, you're saying as a general statement. You're not saying
I never said what
think.
I did not say that. What I said was out of the why the 3 is selling better. I'm going to go to the people who have contributed to the 3 selling better, or at least who are people who put their money where their mouth is. Why is the 3 selling better? Hey, do you like the Model Y or do you like the Model 3 more? And they're like, aesthetically, they like the Model 3. And I didn't just ask Model 3 owners because I feel like, oh, you bought it when you bought it. I'm asking everybody that I can ask who are contributing to that statistic that the Model 3 is the best selling out of all of them. Why?
Well, there's a few other explanations for the record.
Doing a poll on Twitter, none of those people contributed to that statistic, so I don't care what the stats say on that.
Why does it need to contribute if we're just saying
because the Model 3 is the best seller still? Why? Why is it still the best seller?
I was going to tell you why.
I'm
for
one,
get the
you hose and spray these cats down because wow.
I'm just saying looks is not the only factor. There's a bunch of factors.
Right, but when I'm asking out of that, because if you said now that you can't order the Model Y, when I am asking, what do you think? The Model 3 looks better, because obviously when you look at battery, you'll get more with the Y. And when you want to talk about cabin space, you get more with the Y. You have a power trunk, the one thing that I really want. And they were the first one to be rolling out with automatic chrome delete, right? I'm like, hey, this is a nice sell. So besides, and if you're going to tell me it's because Model 3's been out longer, sure. But that's
not the only reason.
Why do people? Well, nothing is the only reason. There's no only reason. There's multiple reasons. But people.
Well, that wasn't my primary reason.
They gravitate aesthetically towards the Model 3. That was the feedback that I got by people who are owners.
So I'm worried about the Cybertruck.
Huh?
If you get out of a Model 3 that's wrapped in a custom way and you're talking to a Model 3 owner, the answer might be.
So we'll take my gas car, Randy, when we do the survey.
I think the main reason is there are 2 factories building Model 3s, and there is only one factory building Model Ys, and the Model 3 starts $12,000 cheaper, so that might have a little.
So you think
impact?
The second factory of Model Y will eclipse the Model 3 at that point?
Eventually, yeah. It won't be instant, but in 2021, yeah, I could see the Model Y outselling the 3 globally, especially because Berlin will be online by end of 21. So then you'll have 3 factories building the Y and only 2 building the 3, and the crossover segment's just bigger. So let me be clear so I'm phrasing this correctly. Do you want the tweet to say, what do you think is the better looking Tesla?
No, I don't care.
Which Tesla? Which Model 3 is objectively better looking than the Model Y?
Which?
That's a good phrasing.
Say that again, Nick.
Which Model 3 is objectively better than the Model Y? And we'll phrase it like that, purred happily. Are you?
I'm just going to make both the poll options Model 3.
And why is it Randy's?
I'll just say. Which Tesla is better looking than the Model Y, and every option is Model 3.
That's a great.
That's good phrasing.
That's a great way to get your answer.
And watch the feedback, and the feedback comes back. It's still Model Y.
Everyone chooses Y somehow. Yeah, I think Y just caters to a wider demographic. So
I think Y is the most universal fit. If a one glove fit all scenario was applicable, the Model Y meets most check boxes for sure. And I think it has where you would compromise on some things, it will make up on other things. And I think it's the most universally fit. It's the original ear pods that's supposed to fit most ears. That would be the Model Y. And
Randy's over here using his AirPods Max.
And I'm over here like...
I'm special!
I can't hear you. I don't speak broke. But...
I don't speak broke.
I really want to see a cheaper Y come around, because I think a cheaper Y will very quickly surpass most sales then at that point, because if someone's not getting a Y, if they're getting a 3 over a Y, in my opinion, cost. At the end of the day, if you're buying a vehicle,
the main thing.
It's cost. It's not full self-driving. It's not the color options. It's not all these other arbitrary decisions. It's definitely not about battery at that point, because objectively you're going to get a worse battery with that. It's going to be cost. And there are some people who are in the camp that's like, I just want a Tesla that's an EV that can do full self-driving, and I don't really care about having this, that, and the other. And at that point, if it comes down to cost, then you'll go with the 3. But what happens when you make the Y so close to the 3, and now you do a true side-by-side comparison, going over everything like that, the Y will beat it out in most, until you put until you put all the things in the Y and the 3.
They've got a powered trunk.
The Y is
the 3 has a power trunk and Qi charger and USB-C. Come on, Randy.
Well,
you just need to go get a new Model 3 is what you need.
So the Model 3 will be doing pretty well until they get a cheaper Model Y then. Because now
it is the best value Tesla for sure.
Yeah.
Standard range plus for what you get out of that vehicle now.
I think the tri-motor Cybertruck is the best value Tesla.
Well, pre-existing Teslas you can buy and drive now
Okay, I'm going to vote in your
value-wise.
poll, Drew.
Okay.
I'm going to vote Model Y.
He's the first.
I'm gonna negate your vote now.
Yeah, he's going to
Drew, I'm gonna
neutralize
vote.
it.
Here we go. Model 3.
Recount.
I win. I'm winning, Nick.
We're still
Oh
waiting
yeah,
on
well I'm
Nevada.
gonna open up my 4 other Twitter accounts now. Thank you so much.
If you have it tied to the same email or phone number, it won't count the vote. I've tried.
Oh, interesting. Oh, you've tried.
Wait,
there
how
are
many
times.
elections were you
I like
trying to
knowing you
swing
tried.
there?
No, Drew has run many polls in the day, and I have gone in and I've tried to turn the vote where it's like pretty close. I'm like, oh, I got 5 accounts. Hang on. It doesn't add them. And when I thought I was
you
wrong,
think
I would then go on to like one of the handles that like didn't vote, like say the podcast handle, and I'll go look at it, and it's still. I'm like, yep, my other votes didn't count. I think it's not tied to the account; it's tied to the contact information. So there's not over voting. That's interesting. Good job, Twitter.
It's
You
almost
found a
like
way
we
to-
should use that for our elections.
Twitter?
Twitter.
Okay.
No, making sure
That would be
people are
hilarious, to be honest.
It's only a matter of
If we
time.
just left the election up to a Twitter poll. We're just like, whatever happens, we go. Anyway.
Siri, flip a coin.
Yeah, Siri, flip a coin. That's in the Constitution, I think.
Yes.
If it's a tie, you go with Siri. Flips a
Siri
coin.
is the tiebreaker for all presidential elections.
Did you guys like the look of that Alwyn Cybertruck mirrors?
Yeah, I did.
Are you about that? You guys would be comfortable with that?
Dude,
Yeah,
I
because
was
it doesn't
beyond
look like
comfortable
it's
with it.
an afterthought.
Yeah,
was-
it looks very intentional, huh?
Even
Yeah.
with the windshield wiper. I'm still thinking I would take the windshield wiper off my Cybertruck if it looked like that, but that's probably the first time
Okay.
I've seen a windshield wiper and been like, I don't hate it.
Yeah, what would you do about rain?
I just wouldn't drive it when it's raining because I don't drive anyway right now.
You don't get to decide that.
So,
I'm gonna go live in San Diego.
but if you're on you plan on road tripping with the Cybertruck, right?
yeah,
So you could be in the middle of a
then I just
drive
pull over,
through
and
Utah.
then I'll get the windshield wiper out of the back, and then I'll click it back into place. And
Gotcha.
then,
So you'll keep
turn
it
on.
with you.
Yeah, and then I can turn it off. Yeah, it's just as convenient as the Roadster's hard top. You just gotta pop
guess
it up
so.
and pop it down.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the way he did that because I felt like no one else had actually done Cybertruck mirrors in a reasonable, good-looking render. And he was the first person to make some. I DM'd him to thank him for it, and he said that he's working on some from some more angles. So
I like
maybe
it.
he has that by the time the episode airs. But he's got school and stuff going on. So either way,
Drop out of school, make more.
he should drop out of
Cybertruck
college. He should drop out, just focus on Cybertruck mirrors. I think he's got a real career in
I
it.
think you do have a real career. Get Fran's attention.
So
Break
why
a
do
few
you not like,
windows.
or why do you? How am I asking you this, Nick? What makes you not like, or
Asks himself. How am I asking?
yeah, how am I asking you this, Nick? Okay, I'm gonna open floor. Nick, talk to me about this concept of the windshield wiper.
Okay, so windshield wipers are, in the words of Chris Traeger, testicles are like the ears of the.
Wait, what?
You botched that in so many ways.
I know.
You got that.
Testicles are ears. What?
You got that wrong in the fourth dimension. I think.
Okay, good. I'm glad I got it wrong. I
Testicles
don't
are
really-
the ears for your body. What? No. The ears
First
are
of
the
all-
ears for my body.
Dwight said the eyes are the groin of the head.
There you go. That's probably.
And you
better.
somehow took that to Chris Traeger said that
Chris Traeger
testicles
does say that.
are the ears. He never said that.
Yes, he does. They're the ears of the genitalia. He says that to Ann Perkins. I just watched the episode like 2 days ago. It was the one when Ann tells that she's a nurse and everyone sends her pictures on her phone. Anyway,
I think we should just end right now.
I think
I
so
think-
too. Oh, I didn't even
my
start recording.
God.
Great, we can just start over here. I don't really like windshield wipers. I think that they are disgusting, and their purpose
Their
is a little
testicles?
stupid.
Anyway, windshield wipers. What's your position on windshield wipers? Pro or against?
They should not exist.
Oh my
But then if we got rid of the windshield wipers, the cars couldn't reproduce. And we wouldn't have any cars.
Oh my God.
So-
So you would rather not have windshield wipers and no one drive when it's raining?
If they looked like a lot of the renders that I was seeing with the Cybertruck, I'd rather not have windshield wipers. But this one render that you're sharing has that one windshield wiper like the Semi, and I think that's the one windshield wiper where I'm like, okay, I don't hate it. But all the other ones I was like, yeah, I don't need that.
Cybertruck makes mirrors hard because most not mirrors, wipers hard because most windshield wipers like to embed themselves right beneath the hood and where the windshield meshes, but the Cybertruck has one flat. So
They should put the windshield wiper on the inside of the window.
There you go.
it doesn't.
How are you
better
gonna?
yet-
They should.
How are you gonna defrost a window, Drew? Exactly.
They should just put a blower in the cabin that pushes air against the front of the.
Well, then put it
truck
on the
and then
outside too, and that's how you get rid of.
One on the outside, one on the inside.
If they plug the Cybertruck into itself, you'll have infinite range, right? That's how that works.
Yes, actually, you can do that with your iPad.
Okay, so
can't get over
wipers. We got that down.
Randy, what are your thoughts on wipers?
They're the testicles of the car or something. I don't know.
You know those people with pickup trucks that put the little things on the back?
Yes.
Someone's going to do that with the Cybertruck.
They already sell them. They're
You
called
don't
Cybertrucks.
have the stones.
Cyber tests.
Like right.
Cyber.
No, Cybernuts. Right after the
Cybernuts.
Cybertruck was released. This
No,
guy made,
cyber nuts, and they're
going
going to be little lug nuts.
Yeah, instead of lug
Yeah.
nuts, they're just like angular. You know.
I wonder
And
if that guy made any nuts for the Badger.
Yeah, they would. They don't exist.
He took reservations, but he never.
I mean,
Ship
Trevor
them.
does have some stones on him, so
You don't have the stones.
you're right. I weigh 6
don't know.
stones.
He left the company, which is not what heroes do, according to Trevor. So,
He was never my
Oh
hero.
man, this gave me a headache.
would you, Randy? Would you, if the mirrors looked like that, would you keep them on or would you take them off?
Ooh, okay. Let's pretend that I have say over it and not Brittany. Okay. If it was
We're
my
pretending,
say,
yeah. Like any decision.
like,
We're just pretending.
we're just pretending. We're gonna pretend that my voice matters here. God.
If it was up to you.
Honestly, I would take them off.
Really? Okay.
If it was, what if it was hard to take them off?
Now, if it say the Cybertruck side mirrors do something more with sensors, and so we just don't have the cameras on the frame of the wheels, and those are your cameras, but then
Wheels.
yeah, and they give you something sensory wise for the mirrors. I would keep it strictly for the sensors. If the side mirrors gave me little side monitors, so now there's more tech involved, I'd keep them on there. But realistically, if it's just gonna just like my Model 3, nah, I'd take them off.
Okay.
Would you only take them off if they were like easily, like you can pop them off by hand, or would you take them off even if it required like a machinery?
Rudimentary
What kind of machinery?
tools. If I
Yeah,
could
like
unscrew, like, give me that Phillips.
Yeah, screwdriver is what I mean by hand. That's
Oh,
what
I thought you meant like an actual.
That would be interesting.
I'm so
they could
wrapped up
make
in this stupid Apple stuff with modular headphones and all these things. That it's like me when I think of my hands.
You know,
like
the HomePod power cable.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be user removable, but if you pull hard enough, it'll pop right off.
yeah.
Like that. Maybe if you
If it's easy for a single person to disassemble or reassemble it whenever, I would take it off strictly for the convenience of it and put it on when I think it'd be necessary and might not. But
you wouldn't cut anything.
If there's cabling involved and there's wires and all that stuff, which there would be, obviously there would be just for the mirrors to retract and open up. That's honestly hard. If it doesn't really affect anything, I will take them off. If it's now I have to get inside underneath the frame and start messing with, it's not worth it.
I can see the i1 Tesla video already.
Oh, yeah.
How to remove the mirrors on your Cybertruck, and it's like this 30-minute tear down about how you have to take the door off and you have to rip the siding.
Absolutely
The
not.
airbags out. You got to take the back left wheel off.
Just the back one.
At that point, that was not meant to come off, and I'm over here ruining it. No, I'm not that guy. I'm not the one.
So,
Yeah.
Drew, in your vein of questioning, I think I would probably leave the mirrors on if they looked like that, but I would change the steering wheel to be the yoke steering wheel. I do not want a circular steering wheel. I know everyone's going to say it's illegal. It's illegal.
That, I imagine, is going to
illegal
be
sell.
quite a mod, though.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do some heavy-duty tearing.
Airbags and
Especially if you
Yeah.
have the little wheels and
thingy,
stuff on there
yeah.
still.
I've seen some people do it with the Model 3, though, and they put like a racing wheel in, and so it's
I have too.
it looks like an afternoon style project if you know what you're doing.
But,
So-
you know, they're the car people. You know, they're
I
the
don't know
type that are,
anything of what I'm doing.
this is going to take a few hours type project.
Yeah,
and you
this
might
will take me
mess
a
it up
couple
permanently.
weeks.
Well, just take it back to Tesla.
He's
I
just
guess
gonna,
there wouldn't be.
he's just
steering
gonna have to go to sleep and think about it at night. Like that wire is supposed to go in this plug.
wheel.
but it's
Will
not
my
fitting.
my airbag go off if I accidentally get in an accident?
You're gonna be driving one day and the airbag's just gonna detonate.
It's like the Tesla goes.
I'm so
and it, like,
happy
stops
because
you,
I'm a gummy
and you
bear.
stop and
Gummy
you're perfectly fine. Yep.
There's gonna be a squirrel runs in front of the truck and the airbag automatically goes off.
Oh my god.
Uh,
Good times. Yeah, I'm not messing with the structural integrity of any of that at that point.
unless they made the steering wheel like super easy to pop off and put back on. If it was like one switch at the bottom that you just had to flip and then you could yank it off, maybe.
If you
but-
can replace the steering wheel the same way you can replace car seats, like a traditional car seats, I would.
Yeah,
then
a
that's
couple
yeah,
bolts,
I would do
a
that.
few wires and.
Well, car seats like where you have to go out and you hit the lever to slide forward and back, like that. Those seats are easy to replace. Something like that, I would do it. Where all the cabling is just underneath, right there behind the dash, and like, okay, yeah, just do what I gotta do. But if it's like intricate, it's in the steering wheels because it's looking for the sensors of you grabbing it to make contact. I just nah.
If I recall correctly, with the Model 3 steering wheel exchange video I saw, you actually had to unplug the battery from the rest of the car before you could mess with the airbags. So underneath,
You could
one of the
never
passenger
convince me to
seats,
do that.
You had to take one of the passenger seats out and then disconnect like some fireman switch or something that's underneath.
I remember that.
Yeah, and that's where I'd be like, yeah, okay, maybe, but I might still, find someone who knows how to do it and get them to do it because I do.
That
like
might
the
be
yoke
something you
idea.
pay someone else for.
Exactly, kind of like you get someone else to install a car radio.
So you like that yoke? What do you like about it?
love
Just the look?
Well, okay. One of my biggest pet peeves, being a bigger guy in smaller cars, and I know the Cybertruck isn't specifically small, but still, it's getting my right knee underneath the steering wheel when I'm getting into the vehicle. And it looks like it's going to be super easy to just swing my knees through. I won't have to do any like finagling to get under there. And that's something that I have to do with my current car that I don't want to do.
That's a good point. I
And
didn't
it looks
think about
nice.
that.
And it feels like I'm flying an airplane, which is, way
Yeah.
cooler.
I've heard a lot of truck people say that steering wheel would annoy them for
Yeah.
certain things, but
That's great. Then they won't drive my car.
I don't agree with them. I think I'm on your side, Nick. I think I like the look of it, and I like that it allows for more knee space. And what's it called? 3 and 9.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need 10 and 2. You know, just
okay.
You can hold one.
Yeah,
If I'm being honest, I feel more comfortable holding it this way anyway. This is how I drive.
Yeah.
I just feel more
It's a
comfortable
Tesla. You're not holding the wheel.
Exactly, right?
Oh, you guys just brought up a good question. How would you hold the wheel if it's the yoke for autopilot? Would you have to? You couldn't do what most people do with
just the camera to make sure you're watching.
Oh, I hope they have good enough interior cameras for that by then, because I do genuinely think. I believe Aptera on their website even said their autonomous driving feature uses the eye tracking. I think that's the better way to go, because I would much rather just look at the road than have to keep my hand there, because I can look away for a second. Not that I ever would, but I can look away for a second, and it's like, hey, you're not paying attention. I'll just, and then go back instead of having to keep grabbing it and grabbing the wheel and grabbing the wheel. But you couldn't. I guess the typical autopilot position for steering wheels is 6.
Yep. Which isn't recommended at all. Like, if you look at all your driver handbooks, like 6 and 12 are the 2 positions that you're not supposed to just use.
I know why 12 is bad. Why is 6 bad?
Because it's...
What?
It's just uncomfortable for turning. I was told that with 12, if you get in an accident and the airbag goes off, it throws your arm up into the roof. But with 6,
I don't know. I've been taught that 6 is not good. I guess
okay.
I don't know why.
I'll keep that in mind next time I drive. Should be in a few weeks. I think. Not too often.
I'll let you know in about 15 minutes.
I literally haven't driven anywhere 10
Ever.
days? 11 days? Yeah.
Ever.
Pretty much ever at this point, 2020.
That would be even more hilarious if we had more EV podcasts with people that can't drive. Like they don't even have licenses. They're like, that's why I want autopilot.
Just to answer your question about the making contact with the steering wheel, what I do with mine is I grab it from the side, like 6 or 3 and 9. I grab it from the side and I just slightly pull down enough that it feels the resistance, and then it draws, and then I just let it go. So I always just.
When I was driving the Model 3 when you guys visited, I would always just slightly move the what's it called? Digital crown?
Yeah.
The digital crown.
The dials.
The little
dials.
The little dial. And if it ever started yapping at me, I would just turn the dial once.
Whoop, whoop.
Call it a day. And be like, nah. There, I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
I like that. It's like you're the captain overseeing the ship. You can look everywhere. Cars driving, you're driving. But speaking of autonomy, have you guys been keeping up with any of those FSD beta videos?
Not this week.
Randy has, though. Who you watch? Who's your go-to?
Oh,
Is this ginger YouTuber named Taylosive EV?
I don't do those.
I don't have a go-to. I don't have a go-to because I'm not subscribed. So it's I let the algorithm just put them in my face. Boop, 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 your usual suspects.
If I can promote anybody, I'd say Dirty Tesla is doing a very good job, because he has a.
Is Dirty Tesla the one who does the long extended? There was a 30-minute video one of
I
showing.
don't think so. He time lapses through the boring stuff, and then he has a preset map that he goes through. He goes through all the same turns, and he has these roundabouts that are around his area, and he's just been nailing it with the. It's pretty easy to just film for 30 minutes and not do very much, but he actually edits them down and is just like, okay,
that's the one.
I'm gonna fast forward through the parts that are easy, and then I'll just skip right to the points where it does the turn and does the interesting thing.
I will watch his because he fast forwards through it. I like him. Teslanomics. I do watch Ryan's videos quite a bit. I watch
it's a nice community there.
Tesla.
Nice little circle.
I forget the family one with the female. I forget her name. I forget that.
Like Tesla?
Like Tesla.
Tesla Joy?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like Tesla.
She changed her name.
Yeah, like Tesla. She was one of the first ones I actually started with, because I liked how she side thing, just because she's like, how to use your Tesla while staying in a tiny home. I like both those things. And so I watched that video, and ever since then I was like, I like this channel. And she goes, well, we're a family, and we have all these different, and I was like, oh, this is nice, cool. So like Tesla is another one as well. So a little bit, I watch all of them. But then Dirt Tesla is the one I'll watch with the time lapse. I like watching the just the run through stuff like that and hearing him, just talk about it, and I'm keeping up with it. And I got an update that happened this morning, and so I'm gonna go take a. That's why I said I'll let you know in about 15 minutes about the about the thing, because I keep hoping, like, come on.
Should be like a few weeks away. I hope. Like, I'm so thankful that the autopilot 4D rewrite thing was actually legitimate. And it wasn't just Elon hyping. Yeah. Elon just, it'll be better. Don't worry, it'll get better. But it's actually major.
Fundamentally better.
He stutters in his tweets too.
I read his tweets in stutters.
Order of magnitude.
That's
another one.
He loves that word.
He does. But I'm glad it's legit. It's now actually separating the Teslas from the rest of the competition a lot, because that's what I saw brought up a lot when you mentioned the ID4. It's just like, well, will it ever at some point in time have the software to drive itself? Probably not. With a Tesla, we can't as confidently say no. We're like, when that subscription comes around, that might be a cheaper way of getting access to that, and who knows what Tesla could enable over the air with an update one day. It could just be like Tesla App Store. Here's all the community of apps that are now supported on Teslas, whereas other car makers are like, maps, right? So good.
You can use your phone. All you do, you take the lightning cable, plug it in. CarPlay.
Teslas are like the most futuristic, but the ID4 looks like the type of vehicle that's trying to be the seamless transition from a gas vehicle owner to an electric vehicle owner, because it still has a key, and the car doesn't have one pedal driving on by default, so it drifts quite a bit. And the braking is kind of a mixture of regen and actual braking. And obviously you've got the two screens instead of just the one, and you've got all the buttons. And so it's trying to bridge that gap. They're
doing the wrong thing.
I don't know if it's wrong. It might just be different. But
no, it's wrong.
Some people... I definitely know a lot of people that get annoyed with the everything on the display thing. There's a lot of people that bring that up. So if you're going to do something different from Tesla, I guess that's one thing you can try to shine on a little bit, because I just hear the complaint of, I want to be able to reach down and feel the settings or feel the knob or switch instead of having to look at the display and take my eyes off the road.
Okay, boomer, get yourself an iPhone, switch from the BlackBerry. We'll get you in this decade in a few years.
Tesla's mindset is like, well, we want to just get your eyes off the road anyway because the car's driving. That's the leapfrog debate. It's like, well, I want to keep my eyes on the road, so I need a button that I can interact with and feel for instead of looking at the display. Well, no eyes on the road because human driving's even more dangerous. Instead, we'll just autonomous drive everything. Problem solved.
It would, I think, give me like the Taptic engine where you just hit, like, I want to feel a vibration or something when I hit the button.
What they could do? Tesla could put a circle donut ring in the middle of their display, so you can get all of the tactile feedback of turning up the volume.
Like a
Ford.
Like a safe. It's like a safe. You can do the safe cracking thing, and there'll be a little bitty screen inside of the knob that allows you to...
Yeah, what does that do exactly?
Forget you, Drew.
Okay, bye.
You saw as because I like, oh, we're becoming to the answer. I was like, let me check the Twitter poll, and then Mike's like, I think I'm biased here. It's okay. It's the correct answer. You're showing you gotta get rid of that tweet. You are manipulating the results.
No, I don't even get to vote on that.
Yeah, but people know which one you would vote for.
Well, the tweet is about your preference. So if Mike says he is biased and he votes with his bias, that is the correct answer.
I'm talking about you. That's not how
What
that. No, you're lying. That's not how that tweet is coming off.
Yes.
Stop being
What
such a
do
sore
you
loser,
think is
Randy.
the better looking Tesla?
Hang on. I'm obviously Apple Pencil with the phone here.
If he's answering what he thinks is the better looking one, then it is the correct answer because I'm asking him what he thinks is the better one.
No, that's not what you're saying. You are saying
what I'm
it's
saying.
okay. It's the correct answer. That is not what you're saying. You're no, you're not gonna.
Glass roof.
You can't outword me. I know. I'm very good with words. I know words.
Okay.
I have all the words. That's not what you're saying. You're lying to me.
I would never lie to you, Randy.
You delete that
Never.
tweet. You delete. You're just upset that Model 3's winning.
It's slowly going down
Yeah,
as
that's
the
what
poll
you're
goes on.
We'll find out. We'll revisit
Slowly
this next
making
week.
its way down. It'll be interesting. People will know the results by the time this goes live.
I know.
but
This is very in the moment.
very timely in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Anyway.
have you guys seen anything about the H1, the Hummer HEV or whatever that is?
H1?
I know, not H1. HEV, Hummer EV. Have you guys seen that that's just smoke in the competition because they have they have a license plate that says not a concept?
Is that really what it said?
It was like it was
Or did you make that up?
No. They said something funny on a license plate. I don't quite recall what
okay.
it was, and it was a diss on Nikola. It was like not a mock-up or
Render?
not a render, maybe.
Not a Nikola?
Exactly.
That's
It's
good
like-
enough. Not a Nikola.
I didn't see the video, but I did see some headlines saying that GM was taking the Hummer EV in some parking lot and driving it around to prove that it was real or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, good job.
Maybe the license
So-
plate was real or something. I don't remember what it was, but it was entertaining enough that
It would
I
be
thought
less.
maybe one of
It
you
would be
do
more impressive if they just didn't use renders at all.
and actually designed and built the thing before they marketed it. What?
Instead of announcing something with renders and then a month later showing a prototype that can do some of the things I talked about. But yeah,
But hey,
Hummer's
can drive.
dumb. I'm sorry.
So
I don't
the
know
Hummer
why
market,
they decided to revive that.
The Hummer market is so
Dead.
specific. It's people who want to drive inefficient vehicles. And the number one priority in my mind when I think of someone who wants to drive an inefficient vehicle is them asking themselves, how can I reduce my carbon emissions while I drive the world's most inefficient vehicle?
No, the Hummer market is for a bunch of washed up has-beens who wants to pretend they're driving a military grade vehicle and they're not.
Or for
I'd like to
who
think
wanna relive the
humanity
glory
is
days.
smarter than that.
Oh, Drew, I'm about to hurt your feelings.
I was going to say, I'd like to.
Don't think,
You know,
though.
I'd like to think that human beings would understand an H2 is literally the opposite of a military grade vehicle. It's like the polar opposite of what the military would use. If someone drives around an H1, okay, that's a different discussion. But H2, yeah, and then this thing is such a narrow market for electric pickup truck buyers that want a Hummer with a short little bed. Yeah, I don't know what the thought process was there. It feels like GM saying, "See, we can do it," but they don't really care that much about it. They're
Well,
just
they know
like,
they're not
yeah,
going to have to make many of them.
Yeah.
that's true. Maybe that's why they chose it. They were like, well, no one will order it, so we won't have to make very much, and then we can keep working on our internal combustion engine vehicles because obviously we prefer those.
It's going to do real well in 2030 when we can't sell them, but, until then, it'll be fun.
I've seen a lot of people throwing around the criticism or the hate of the regulation or guideline of like banning gas cars by 2030 or 2035 and think that once the time actually comes, the law will be repealed or they'll just change their mind on it. Do you guys see that type of thing happening, or do you think those are going to be pretty strictly followed?
Much like removing the headphone jack or one of these things, these ancient things, one will do it and everyone will follow suit very quickly after, and there will be resistance, but I think it will continue, and I think it will have immediate criticism, and then everybody will just fall in line. Because it doesn't invalidate the already existing gas vehicles. It's just saying we have a better way, you know. It's a transitional period for a long time, and it's gonna make foreign vehicles probably sell more if they want to bring them to the States. Like go down to Mexico, pick something up, come back. There's people who hold on to vehicles for a very long time too. I think the argument to be made is by the time somebody holds onto a car for dear life and will never get rid of it until it's just inoperable, and then when that happens, EVs should be just as cost efficient, and you can't make an argument to say why a gas vehicle better, because the gas will still be more expensive, the oil and maintenance would cost more, and the EVs will be so affordable. It's gonna be the obvious choice at some point, and people it's gonna hurt the environment, blah 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 blah. Like the oil wasn't hurting the environment or something, but you can make an argument for everything, and there's a counter argument to it. But I think ultimately, if it's that close and they just draw the line, this is when we're doing it. Immediate resistance and criticisms, and there'll be people fighting it, but it will move everything forward. This is one thing that I feel like on a grander scale why Tesla was right, and it's going to be the same feedback. It's just a niche; it's not going to make it. But and we saw how it was proven wrong. Just imagine that on the grander scale. Now, this is my way of saying like history is going to repeat itself that way. That you'll say that, and you'll find a way to nitpick every little thing, but eventually it will just the stats alone will be like it's the obvious choice. So,
how about you, Nick?
I think it's
don't say
pretty
you're worried
arbitrary.
about the Cybertruck.
I actually am worried about the Cybertruck.
I was worried. You sighed, and I was like, that normally means we're about to be hit with that Cybertruck concern.
That's right. I'm actually getting really
concern.
Getting really concerned about the Cybertruck.
I think all these arbitrary-ish deadlines are kind of funny. Like, what's the difference between 2030 and 2031 or 2045? I mean,
that's where the line in the sand is.
They just draw a line somewhere, and companies are expected to do something on a particular date. I don't really subscribe to government, trying to tell companies what to do most of the time. But there are instances where, for the public good, governments do need to tell people what to do, or companies what to do. Like, the EPA is there for a reason. I'm very happy I live somewhere with blue skies and not red fire orange skies like California did for a while. So there's a little bit of balance
some
there.
animosity coming from you, Nick.
Just a little. I every single day you guys were sending me.
If only we had the EPA in California.
I know. If only California had more solar panels, maybe their grid wouldn't be fluctuating so much. I think that there's definitely good reasons to mandate companies to do more socially responsible things. But at the end of the day, I would rather have the companies decide economically that it doesn't make sense to make gas cars. I am looking forward to the day where a gas car is so cheap and efficient that no one would consider buying a gas car unless they were a collector and they wanted to relive their high school years and drive around in the red Camaro. That would be my ideal, because then you still give people the freedom to choose that red Camaro if they wanted it. Just wouldn't make any financial sense. So obviously lots of people would choose the more responsible choice. And a lot of these companies are honestly just paying lip service right now to those mandates. Just look at GM with their Hummer. It's like, okay, yeah, you're not complying with the they're complying with the letter, but not with the spirit of the law. And I think the best type of results of any kind of governmental private sector meetup is always when the two parties are looking to do something for the betterment of society and not necessarily protect their profits or protect their political base. And so, anyway, I don't know. I kind of find it funny and arbitrary in one breath, and then, a good idea in another, and kind of wish the approach was done a little bit differently in yet another breath. So there's lots of breaths there, which is why I had the initial sigh, which is why I'm worried about the Cybertruck.
What do you think, Drew?
I think they make those guidelines, even though they're about what's going to happen in 2030, they make them for now. I think the point of putting those out now is to say, get ready, start making moves, start making those changes now, so that by 2030, no one will have to stop doing anything. It'll just be the natural progression. And, states and governments, when it comes to emissions and how cars are contributing to, whether it be lung diseases or smog or, all the things that the internal combustion engine can support, hopefully that can. I think we are all in favor of just it being phased out naturally to the point that nobody even wants to go the gas route because it's not even desirable anymore. But at the same time, some people buy Hummer H2s like we just talked about, and there's very little logistics or realism behind the mindset of buying a vehicle like that, but people still did it.
Yep.
So that's a situation where I can start to understand a government or a guideline wanting to be like, you know what? We get that it's cute and it's fun for you, but it's kind of killing people. So we might have to phase that out, or we have to keep around these certain types of either gas pumps or oil changes in certain infrastructures that we don't want to, keep importing oil. Do we want to keep that infrastructure around just for some people that are like, but it's fun though, and I like the car that goes vroom vroom, it makes the fun sound. There's a decent number of people that would probably resist the electric transition as much as they possibly could. So that's why I get it. But
What about,
I think...
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Finish your thought.
I think the EV landscape is going to drastically change faster than most people think. I think that similar to the S-curve adoption rate and how quickly smartphones became popular and how big that industry became, and no one really predicted how popular it would become. It's going to be similar with electric cars. It's going to be like right now, it's making up such a small piece of the market. It's hard to visualize like, well, if it's this much now, why would it be that different in 10 years? It would maybe 20% of the market, maybe 30. But with the economies of scale of battery production and other companies catching up with factories and Tesla ramping up for cheaper cars and the 4680 cells and the structural, once they start reaching price parity with the gas vehicles, and that's in like 2024, then on top of that, you have another 6 years for the rest of the industry to catch up with those prices and catch up with the range that Tesla was able to keep. So I think it'll start to become abundantly obvious by the end of the decade that like, oh, so if we're buying combustion engine vehicles, new that is, used, that's a different story, but new, it's just kind of burning cash. It's basically buying, it's basically lighting dollar bills on fire to keep driving these things.
Yeah. What about people who appreciate the repairability of gas cars as far as being able to get in there and tinker? Like one of my best friends growing up, he's been restoring a bunch of old BMWs. I think he's just finished his third restore, where he takes a BMW that is from the 80s, hasn't run well in years, and he spends 6 months under it, and he does all these little Instagram videos tinkering with it and checking where's the oil leaking from and swapping out transmissions and all this fun stuff. And for him, that is a big part of car ownership. And that's something that he really loves, that tinkerability, the ability to be able to put a manual transmission in an automatic car and play with it. I think electric vehicles, similar to the way that Apple and iPhones have kind of been going in years, mobile tech in general, I guess, not just iPhones, but just that non-user repairability aspect, not being able to tinker with it, not being able to fix it yourself. I think that is probably going to be one of the areas where we get the biggest kind of backlash to the EV movement once it kind of goes more mainstream. Because there are the people who say I want a vroom vroom car, but I think those people will be more easily swayed than my friend who wants his Beamer to be his Beamer. So
True.
I don't know, and that's kind of the part where I'm like, well, it's kind of hard for a government to make a decision without making a bunch of people mad, and I also think it's
Always.
kind of humorous that our government thinks, well, I'll be around in 2030.
Did you have thoughts on that, Randy? I'm curious what you think.
In regards to, well, which part?
The repairability thing and the enthusiast market,
I should note,
enthusiast
I'm not in that group. I would.
Yeah, I know.
I want to push a button or just sit in it and have it work.
yeah.
But I know
Yeah,
you exist.
I think much like people like Jay Leno and alike who like to collect cars, I think, and use them, and that's more like antique or vintage or no, not vintage. They call it this is now considered a classic and stuff like that. I feel like people in that market. Yeah, well, actually, I think you kind of said it well, Nick. That it's hard for something like this and a regulation to come out where you're not gonna, where a side's gonna, you can't make both sides happy, and there will be resistance on both ends, because even if they were like, all right, no, never mind, and they go back on it, on the EV side, people are are gonna fight more for the environmental portions of it. Saying, hey, you know, this is to help reduce whether it be climate change or just the overall environmental impact of gas and diesel and all those things. And like I was saying even before that, the argument to say that at one point where it's like, no, economically this is just the better alternative in every way. It goes longer on a charge at some point. It's faster. It'll be faster. It's more cost
cheaper.
Efficient. Yeah. We're saying the same things. So, but that's exactly the thing. Like it's gonna get to that point, and I think you talking about the S curve is with smartphones. It's gonna get to that point. Nobody's gonna want a flip phone anymore. Foldable phones is what they call them now, but flip phones, like, no, it doesn't make sense to have a small screen, terrible battery, just because it had tactile buttons. It wasn't a good enough argument anymore, So
I would say, a lot of people still own horses. And a lot of people still ride horses. And I think similarly with the internal combustion engine, you are going to probably for a very long time, probably till the day all of us die tomorrow, that there will be there will be an enthusiast market. There will be an enthusiast market for the combustion engine, but it will just fall from the mainstream. Most likely, it will become less and less of a something I would imagine most of the people modifying and taking apart their cars and working on their engines, are they buying the latest 2020 model of car? No, they're buying stuff from
the
80s or 70s or way back when. And I think similarly, even if you killed off the sale of new gas cars, you would still be able to have a fairly present enthusiast market for decades of people buying old classics or retrofitting old stuff that they make themselves. And you might be even able to, of course, sell those vehicles because they're not new to others, and they'll be in circulation for a while.
New market.
I think that I don't know if you'll be able to. Basically, I think government will be banning like big auto companies from mass producing the combustion engine. If it's like, old Ted,
go get it.
Yeah,
old Ted down the street modifying some stuff and refurbishing old vehicles and selling them like in like new condition, but it's technically, it didn't come off of a factory line, basically. He can sell those cars. I think, though, the difference between like riding horses in 2020, which plenty of people do, and the combustion engine is that the maintaining of them is no longer going to be something that the average consumer can hand off to some other like shop. Like right now, your car needs worked on, need an oil change. You have to go take it to some guy and he'll work on it. Or you could do it yourself, but in the future it'll be like you have to know how to do it yourself, because all those car repair shops have either converted to all electric repair, or maybe that's not even as reasonable because not as much repair to be done. Aptera has actually spoken up about how supportive they are of right to repair and how they're going to ship parts to anybody if they want to work on their own vehicles. So they're, there's one voice standing out in the crowd, because I know Tesla's not like that. So, but Aptera is that one company that's like, hey, we support people to be able to work on their own cars and that kind of thing. It's easy to say probably when you don't have any cars yet, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think there will still be a very present enthusiast market, and even then, though, like, will there be gas stations everywhere for you to tap into if there's still an enthusiast market, but everyone's switching to electric, and these gas pumps are becoming less and less.
The gas stations would be about as infrequent as a Tesla supercharger. They'll kind of like flip flop.
Pretty much.
Electric stations will be about as common as a gas station these days, and
except the car won't have a built-in way of routing you to the gas
know where
station.
it is.
It's that they're just kind of, those gas pumps are either going to convert over to electric charge stations, or they're going to just turn into convenience stores, and eventually the business of selling gas will start to become less profitable, and that's when you'll see a huge fall off in stations staying open. So that's when you start losing some of those gas car advantages. Now it really becomes an enthusiast thing because it's fun to drive around town, but that you can't do a road trip with it anymore. So at that point, I think it just naturally phases itself out. There will probably be people defending it, 100 years from now, and some people still working on it for fun, and there's hobbyists in any field, in any market. But yeah, I could see it. I could see it falling off. The interesting thing, though, you bring up about electric is that there's so much less to repair in the first place.
Well, but the things that do need to be repaired are not something you can work on in your garage, which I know a lot of our generation doesn't really want to fix those things, but I also know that there are a ton of people who wouldn't buy a car that they couldn't fix in their garage because they don't want to have to pay some dude to fix it. And there's a very good argument that an electric vehicle will not need to get repaired near as often. But, when your full self-driving computer goes out, or you get in an accident, when Randy got tail bumped, you couldn't just go in your carport and order a part off Amazon and fix the bumper yourself. You had to go to the Tesla service center. You had to get them to get all the sensors aligned and wired correctly, and
creates jobs.
Yeah. Well, okay. Creates jobs. Fine.
This is where all the taxi drivers and semi-truck drivers are going to turn into.
I don't think this is how this adds up. We're still in a deficit of jobs after we find all the gas station workers, taxi drivers, truck drivers, maintenance people.
They can repair Randy's bumper.
They can repair Randy's bumper
collectively. But on the other hand, there will be less accidents.
It takes a village. Remember.
It does. It takes a village to make a Model 3.
Yeah.
I would also argue on the flip side of that, though, that already internal combustion engine vehicles made in 2020 are pretty hard to work on yourself in the first place.
This is very true.
It's not exactly just an electric car problem. It's just kind of a new car problem in general. So I think there's even some Mercedes that don't even let you check the oil yourself anymore.
Wow.
I read that somewhere. Like, they don't have the dipstick.
Wow.
You have to, like, the computer tells you, and then you drive to a service station. So yeah, it's how backwards is that, right?
Right.
It's already kind of on the way out, but I think it's safe to say average consumer is probably not the type that's going to want to work on their own vehicle. They would much rather the Tesla approach of some guy shows up.
But we're talking about getting 99% of people on board, and I think only 70% would be on board easily. And we're talking about the last 30% of people who want to either have the right to repair type stuff, or want to drive a gas car because it reminds them of their high school years, or, likes the vroom vroom. These are the people we're talking about here, that last 30%.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'd be that large, though. It's hard to know exactly what that percentile is.
In my neck of the woods, I think it would be closer to 50% of people would never.
Sure, in your neck, but...
Well, and I'm saying this neck is pretty big.
I don't know. I feel like as
red, so we got some.
As generations get older, I bet your parents were less comfortable with iPhones and AirPods and Apple Watches than you are, and the generation that we're going to be adopting for is toddlers right now. Yeah. And if they grow up used to it and they grow up accustomed to that, I think there'll
I'm
be
just
a
saying
general.
It's not. It can't all happen at the same time. The federal government can't say by 2032 everyone's going to be driving an electric car.
I haven't seen anyone.
We'd have
pass
bigger
that
riots. We'd have bigger riots than we currently have on our hands if that was the case.
I've yet to see any legislation say that it will be illegal to drive a gas car.
Yeah, the insurance companies
I've yet
will
to see that.
make it very expensive, but
it'll get less and less practical. But yeah, I think if you're unable to do a road trip with your gas car because all the gas stations are closing down, then the popularity of it's gonna phase away pretty quick, and the next generation's gonna just become accustomed to electric, and that's what they're used to, and eventually start having teenagers that their first cars are electric cars, and that's what they grew up with, and they've never pumped gas in their life. And then if you have a huge generation of those people driving or not driving, I guess, because autonomy, then you see a big future of like, what are all these old guys doing trying to pump dinosaur bones into their car? What's going on? Well, I like to work on it. Why would you work on it? It's like people who wanted cell phones to have the battery be able to take out,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to know that it's off.
Yeah.
Okay.
We look at that and we're like, what? Who cares? But back in the old days, that probably was kind of important. Or a watch you didn't have to charge. Battery life of years instead of a day or two. Technology, it can be slow sometimes, but it creeps up on you, and before you know it, you're just like surrounded by it, and it's trippy in hindsight how quickly people can adopt to new things or new standards. Like, I remember everyone memeing the Apple Watch when they first unveiled it, and everyone was saying how Apple's doomed and Steve would never do this, and now I see them literally everywhere. Like, no matter where I go, I see the little squarish rectangle on everybody's wrist, and it won't be that fast for cars, of course, because average ownership is way higher, but I don't know. Did you have things to pitch in on, Randy? I've been talking a while.
No, I was enjoying the back and forth, and if I'm being honest,
you're the oldest one.
I know. On the watch.
Do you know
thing,
people in your? Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you know people in your personal life that are gonna fight an EV transition as much as possible?
Yeah, those enthusiasts who like to work on the engine, who are truck lovers, who are good old America.
Yeah.
Those are
sounds like my neighbor.
Those are people who they have 4 or 5 vehicles in their garage and in the driveway, and they just like tinkering with them and driving around, and that's their thing. That's their That's their passion. They like playing around.
Their forte.
That's their way of staying entertained and all that stuff, and very modest lifestyle. And those guys don't want to get new stuff, but at the same time, these aren't guys who are buying cars from 2010 or newer. They're buying old stuff that they can play around with. We were seeing cars move more electrical anyway on the inside. Yep. It was just the engine is the last part. So they're not playing around with the electrical stuff. They're like, I ain't no electrician. They don't know about that stuff. They don't care. They were playing around with the mechanics and stuff like that. They're mechanical people. Mm-hmm. So they have no interest working on something that has like that type of frame that when you get in an accident, the whole thing just kind of falls apart. Anyway, they want those old steel working, like those old.
One sec. I gotta go. I'll be right back.
Okay, but so.
Wow.
Hey, you know what's funny? We should probably just end the show right here because I really gotta pee. That's why I stopped talking.
All right. Well, Drew left. Randy's and I are still here, and we're gonna sign off before.
Nick, back. If you want to talk for a couple seconds, I'm just gonna run to the bathroom. I'll be right back. We're doing it live.
Okay, sounds good. So, ladies and gentlemen, seeing that I am officially the last person left on this podcast, I'm also gonna leave. See you guys next week. Bye.
Ba-bum.